The movie begins in 1999 with a pilot named Petey inside an antique toy store. Petey wants to return the toy monkey he bought for his children from the store, but the store owner is surprised by his appearance and asks him about his blood-drenched clothes. Petey tells him that this toy is the reason because every time the monkey plays the drum, someone dies in a horrible way. While they are talking, they are shocked to see the monkey playing the drum for no reason. At that moment, the store owner tells Petey that the monkey played the drum, yet nothing happened. But as soon as he finishes speaking, a rope in the store gets cut by an old axe tied to it. The axe falls onto a statue of a knight holding a rifle with arrows in his hand. One arrow shoots out of the rifle and pierces the stomach of the store owner, who dies immediately. Petey collapses in fear and is overcome with anger. He decides to set the entire store on fire to get rid of the toy monkey. Years later, we learn that Petey ran away, leaving his wife Louisa and their twin children, Bill and Hale. No one knows where he is. At that time, we see Bill standing with his brother. Hale tells us that Bill is only 3 minutes older than him, but Bill acts as if he is 3 years older. This is because Hale is calm and kind, unlike Bill, who is clearly mischievous and loves playing pranks on everyone. Additionally, he always annoys Hale and bullies him. Because of this, Hale resents Bill for his bad behavior to the point that he imagines himself throwing a bowling ball at Bill's head while he sleeps just to get rid of him. Hale also tells us that whenever he asks his mother about his father, she tells him that his father disappeared suddenly without any explanation. Later, Bill and Hale go to their old house to receive their father's belongings, as they have grown up and are now his heirs. There they find the toy monkey inside a box with a message instructing the person who finds it to turn its key and see what happens. At that moment, Bill picks up the toy and turns the key to see what will happen. The monkey smiles and raises its hand but suddenly stops moving. Bill gets annoyed, says the toy is broken, and tosses it aside. The next day, Bill and Hale go out with their nanny, Annie. Hale takes the monkey toy with him in the car. Meanwhile, Bill is arguing with Annie about where they should go. Bill and Hale want to visit the amusement park, but Annie insists on going to a Chinese restaurant, assuring them they will like the food there. At the restaurant, Annie is impressed by the chef preparing the food because he makes skillful and playful movements with his knives. It is clear that there is mutual admiration between them, to the point that the chef even arranges the food in a heart shape for her. But suddenly, the monkey starts drumming, and Hale hears the sound of the drum even though the toy is far from him. At that moment, the chef, who is playing with his knives, makes a mistake, accidentally striking Annie with a knife and decapitating her. Bill and Hale are terrified, and neither of them understands what just happened. At Annie's funeral, Hale sits in sadness, constantly thinking about whether the monkey toy had anything to do with what happened. This is because he distinctly remembers hearing the sound of the drum moments before Annie died. After that, Hale continues his life as usual and goes to school, taking the monkey toy with him. When his friends see the toy in his bag, they make fun of him. Even Bill laughs at him just like the others. Not satisfied with mere teasing, Bill and his friends later gather a large number of bananas and throw them at Hale. Hale becomes extremely upset and returns home seething with anger. He talks to the monkey and tells it that he knows it was responsible for Annie's death because he heard the sound of the drum moments before she died. He then begs the monkey to kill his brother Bill, as he has had enough of his bullying. Finally, he turns the toy's key and waits to see what will happen. At that moment, the monkey starts drumming. At the same time, Hale enters the house and talks to his mother, who is preparing food. But suddenly, his mother explodes and dies in a gruesome manner. On the day of his mother's funeral, Hale tells us that the monkey kills people as it pleases and does not take orders from anyone. At the same time, he is confused and does not understand why the monkey killed his mother instead of Bill. Hale also tells us that the doctors explained his mother's death as a result of a severe nervous attack which caused her brain cells to explode. This condition is extremely rare and hardly ever occurs. Hale is devastated because he knows that he is responsible for Annie's death. After the funeral, he picks up the monkey toy and smashes it, then throws it in the trash to get rid of it. At that time, Bill and Hale go to live with their Aunt Aya and their Uncle Chip. Hale mentions that Uncle Chip does not like children at all, unlike Aunt Aya, who is very happy to have them. When they arrive at their new home, it is clear that Bill is deeply upset over his mother's death, because he loved her dearly. Suddenly, he hears a strange sound coming from the room, so he walks toward it and is shocked to find the monkey inside the closet. Bill becomes furious with Hale, assuming that he brought the toy with them. Hale quickly defends himself, insisting that he did not bring it and reminding Bill that he destroyed the toy and threw it in the trash. He also tells Bill that the toy is cursed with a demonic power that kills people. A few days later, Hale recounts that Uncle Chip went on a trip into the forest, but while he was sleeping, a large herd of horses appeared and trampled him to death in such a horrific way that his body was completely crushed and his corpse was shredded like minced meat. In response, Bill and Hale put the toy inside its box and throw it into a well, believing that it is the reason behind their Uncle Chip's death. 25 years later, Bill and Hale have grown up, and at this point, Hale reveals that he and his brother have become estranged. He tells us that he got married and had a child whom he named Betty after his father. However, he is deeply saddened because he has been living away from his wife and son for years. He only visits his son once a year, fearing that the toy's curse is still haunting him and might bring harm to his family. Worse still, he never told them the truth about his past, which has strained his relationship with them. In their eyes, he is a failed and irresponsible father. As a result, his wife divorced him and married another man to raise their son properly. What hurts Hale the most is that he cannot tell them the truth because they would never believe him. Additionally, Hale suffers from nightmares in which his mother appears with blood on her face, accusing him of being responsible for her death. He also dreams that the monkey toy lifts him while he is sleeping and throws him into the same well where he had discarded it 25 years ago. In another nightmare, he sees the monkey toy attacking him with sharp objects, trying to kill him. Eventually, Hale realizes that the monkey toy only kills bad people. He now believes that it killed Annie the nanny because she never truly loved him and Bill, despite pretending to care for them in front of their mother. Instead of taking them to the amusement park, she took them to the restaurant to meet the chef she was secretly in love with. As for Louisa, Bill and Hale's mother, the toy killed her because she always favored Bill over Hale, constantly neglecting and ignoring him. Regarding their Uncle Chip, the toy took his life because he disliked Bill and Hale and never wanted them to stay in his house. One night, their Aunt Aya wakes up to a strange noise inside the house. She grabs a gun and follows the sound, tracing it to the basement. As she searches for the source of the noise, she finds nothing. Suddenly, as she climbs back up the stairs, the wooden steps collapse beneath her, causing her to fall into a box filled with fishing tools. She screams in pain as fishing hooks pierce her face. Desperate to remove them, she runs to the bathroom, pulling the hooks out while enduring excruciating pain. She then pours alcohol over her wounds to disinfect them. At that moment, she smells gas filling the house. She rushes to the kitchen, approaching the stove to determine the source of the leak. However, as she moves closer to the flame, the gas ignites. Because her face is covered with eyeliner, the fire rapidly spreads, engulfing her entire face. Screaming in agony, she runs out of the house and accidentally crashes into the wooden post holding the mailbox. She collapses and dies instantly. Meanwhile, Hale prepares for his second visit to see his son Betty. However, Betty is upset and angry with Hale for always being absent and never checking on him. Despite this, he reluctantly agrees to go with Hale to a hotel outside the city, as Hale plans to take him on a trip to explore the nearby mountains. That night, Hale receives a shocking phone call from his brother Bill. Bill informs him that their Aunt Aya has died, leaving Hale in utter disbelief. He is even more horrified when Bill suggests that the monkey toy might be behind her death, as she died in a freak accident, just like all the others who perished while the toy was in their possession. At that moment, a female hotel guest appears in front of Hale and begins undressing as she heads toward the swimming pool. Just as she jumps into the water, an electrical short circuit occurs, electrifying the entire pool. The moment she touches the water, she is electrocuted, and her body violently explodes. At that moment, Hale is shocked and begins to connect the incident of his aunt's death with the girl's death. Based on this, he becomes certain that the monkey toy has reappeared and that someone has found it and turned it on. After that, Bill takes his son and they go to their aunt's house. There, they meet a woman named Barbara. Barbara is the employee appointed by the government to be responsible for the house after Aya's death. Barbara knows that Hale and his brother Bill are the heirs, so she talks to Hale and tries to deceive him into selling the house at a cheap price so she can earn a lot of money from it. But Hale does not care about her and wants to know if the monkey toy is in his aunt's house or not. What makes the situation even worse is that Barbara tells Hale that after his aunt's death, many people started dying in the city and they all died in accidents. Here, Hale confirms that the monkey toy is present in the city and might be in his aunt's house. So he asks Barbara if she found a monkey toy among his aunt's belongings. She tells him that she doesn't remember, and they start looking for it in the house. However, they don't search for long. Barbara opens the door to a room, but a gun falls from its place and a bullet is fired, exploding Barbara's head in front of Hale. He is utterly terrified by what has happened. Then, the police arrive and take Hale's statement regarding the incident. At that moment, a man appears in front of the house with his hair covering his face, making his features unclear. He stands among the people and watches as the ambulance transports Barbara's body. We learn that this person's name is Ricky, and he is a friend of Bill and Hale from the time they lived with their aunt. Currently, Ricky works as a private investigator and has been watching Hale since his arrival in the city. Ricky then goes to inform Bill that Hale is at their aunt's house with his son, Petey. Here, we go back in time to understand what happened. We learn that after Bill and Hale threw the monkey toy into the well, Bill later returned, climbed down into the well, and searched for it. However, he didn't find the toy, he only found the key that turned it on. After that, Bill spent years searching for the toy and even asked Ricky to help him find it. Ricky eventually managed to locate the monkey toy among their aunt's belongings. At that time, Bill turned on the toy, hoping it would kill his brother Hale because he believed Hale was responsible for their mother's death. Bill thought that the toy had killed their mother on Hale's command. However, the problem arose when Ricky, after discovering the toy's deadly secret, wanted it for himself. Ricky went to Bill's house and told him he wanted to take the toy, but Bill refused to let him in and told him to leave. Bill made it clear that he was not going to hand over the toy. Enraged, Ricky returned to his house, took out his father's police uniform, and retrieved his father's gun, showing that he was planning to take revenge on Bill. However, instead of going directly to Bill, he first went to Hale, threatened him with the gun, and forced him and his son to accompany him to Bill's house. At that time, Ricky wanted Petey to enter Bill's house and steal the monkey toy. He told Petey that he could sneak in through the dog hole in the back door of the house. Hale refused and didn't want to involve his son in this dangerous matter, but Ricky threatened to kill Petey, forcing Hale to comply. Petey then entered the house through the dog hole as Ricky had instructed. Inside, he encountered his uncle Bill, who recognized him immediately. Bill, knowing that Petey was unaware of the animosity between him and Hale, decided to manipulate the situation. He convinced Petey to play with a monkey toy, hoping that this cursed toy would kill Hale. Bill lied to Petey, telling him that he had inherited the toy from his father and wanted him to try it. At that moment, Petey turned the key of the toy and the monkey started to drum. As soon as this happened, Hale noticed a beehive on a tree in front of the house. Suddenly, a swarm of bees emerged, penetrated the car window and attacked Ricky, killing him instantly. Hale, terrified, got out of the car and rushed into the house to check on Petey, calling out to him. Upon hearing Hale's voice, Bill became enraged, realizing that his brother was still alive. He wanted Petey to play the game again, but Petey, sensing danger, refused. Bill angrily pushed him aside and took the toy himself, determined to make it work. However, something strange happened. The toy refused to activate. Bill became desperate, grabbing the monkey's arm and trying to force it to drum. He screamed at the toy, demanding that it kill his brother immediately. But instead of obeying, the toy released a powerful energy blast that threw Bill across the room. The monkey continued drumming loudly and rapidly, growing angrier because of Bill's actions. At that moment, Bill looked out the window and saw a fireball falling onto the city, setting it ablaze. Suddenly, the roof of the house collapsed and the bodies of the dead fell on top of Bill. Terrified, he looked around in horror, especially when he saw the corpse of a bride hanging from a rope. After a moment of eerie silence, Hale arrived. Bill, overwhelmed by fear, admitted that he knew Hale was responsible for their mother's death. That was why he sought the monkey toy, to take revenge on him. He wanted Hale to die, just as their mother had. However, Hale responded calmly, telling Bill that he didn't blame him for what he had done. He clarified that he never intended for their mother to die. Instead, he had wanted the monkey toy to kill him because it had tormented him throughout his childhood. Bill, realizing the truth, apologized and tried to make amends, but suddenly the monkey began drumming again. At that moment, Bill noticed that Hale had positioned him in a specific spot inside the house. It became clear that Hale had anticipated Bill's actions. Since childhood, Bill had been known for playing pranks, and he had set traps inside the house for Hale. As the sequence of traps was triggered, a small cannon with a bowling ball inside it was fired. The ball struck Bill's head, decapitating him. and Hale stood in shock, staring at the bowling ball that had just killed his brother. He realized that Bill had been deceiving him until the very last moment. Bill had lied when he claimed to have forgotten their past conflicts, and because of that, the monkey toy had ultimately finished him off. The next day, Hale sat in his car with his son and told him the full story of the monkey toy. He explained that the toy had haunted his father and then started chasing him. He admitted that his son was the reason he had stayed away for so many years. He didn't want to put Petey in danger. However, after everything that had happened, he realized that he must live a life of kindness and avoid harming others. Petey, now understanding why his father had been distant, felt relieved and happy. He realized that his father loved him and never hated him, as he had once believed. In the end, Hale and Petey agreed to keep the monkey toy instead of getting rid of it. Petey accepted his father's decision, and with that, the movie ended. Thanks for watching this recap. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to comment below and let me know what else movie or series you want me to recap next.